So I just hired a new team member from the Philippines, and I want to talk to you today about the process I went through to make that hire. I've been working with offshore workers for probably around 15, 16 years now. I've initially worked in a business where we had an office in Beijing for about 12 years, and then I've worked with the Philippines and India. And I've got to say that if you've never hired someone in the Philippines or India or somewhere offshore in another country, it is a real challenge to manage that staff member. And there are some tricks that you need to use or techniques you need to use to make sure that it is a profitable and it's a worthwhile and it's a relationship that both of you mutually get benefit out of. And so whenever I hire someone, I've learned that the hiring process is probably the most important part of the process. Because if you hire the wrong person, you just can't come back from that sometimes. And so one of the things that I have done is I have put in a test that I make them complete over a whole day to see if I like working with them and if they like working with me. And so it's really important that you put this structure in, because when you interview someone, basically they can say anything. I always thought it was crazy when I was a salesperson and I was going for interviews, and I thought, as a salesperson, you kind of know how to talk it up, right? And when someone interviews you, you kind of know what to say. Like, you're selling yourself every single day. And when you go for a job interview, it's just another sale. And so it always amazed me how people would hire people based on one interview or two interviews. So that you can basically say anything in that interview. And so what I really found useful is the one company I worked in for 12 years, the software development company. We implemented a system which was a test, and everyone had to do it. Other salespeople, a technical person, the admin person, or the person at the front desk would all do a test. There'd be different tests, but basically they'd come in and we'd work with them for a day, and we'd sit next to them and we would see if we enjoyed working with them and if they actually could do what they said they could do. And so now that I hire offshore workers, I do that on every one of my hires. And I've got to say that it has really helped me to um, pinpoint if that person is going to be a good fit for my company. Now, over the years, I've had some absolute disasters when I have hired people offshore, and I've learned from all of those mistakes. And whenever I haven't gone through this process, it almost always has been a disaster. Now, let me tell you why the test, the full day test, is so important. The reason is because you're not actually testing their skill. Of course, they have to have a base set of skills, but the reality is that you can teach almost all the skills to someone. Now, as a web designer, I hired a web designer. I need them to have basic design, fundamental skills. And if they don't have that, I don't even look at them, okay? And I can basically see by their designs. But after that, I could improve their skill set by education, letting them watch some courses on Skillshare. But including that, I have so many other skills that I have to teach them. I have to teach them landing page design using Elementor and doing some Facebook ad campaigns and, maybe some editing of some ebooks and creating ebooks. There's so many things that I can get them to do, but all of those are pretty easy to teach. What you can't teach is the fundamental design skill, because I'm not a designer, so I can't teach that. So what I found is that this day is to just give them a benchmark as, do they have the skill, like the fundamental skill? But what I'm really looking for is, how do they interact with me? I want people to ask me questions when they don't know the answer, or if they don't know how to do something. I want them to ask me instantly so I can fix it and then we can move on. But if someone doesn't ask for half a day, I lose that time. So one of the core things that I want is someone who is assertive, someone who isn't scared to say, I don't know, put their hand up. And in the test, I test that. I give them things I know that they're not going to be able to do. And the only way they're going to figure it out is either Googling it or coming to me and saying, I can't do that. And I love that. So, the last person I hired before this one, they actually couldn't do almost everything I asked them to do on that day. But I love their attitude. I love that they kept telling me, Marlon, I can't do that. Can you show me? I'd show them. And that was what I was actually testing. Does that make sense? And so if someone is assertive and they'll ask and they won't say, I know, when they don't know, then you can almost, assure yourself that if they're going to be a person that asks, then they're going to be a person that can grow in your business. Attitude is really important, and you test attitude by working with someone and giving them some difficult tasks and seeing if they think you're an idiot. Sometimes you ask them dumb questions. Sometimes you ask them to do something that's a bit upside down and see how they interact with you. See if they're too important for that, or if they think that it's below them. Ask them to do something they can't do and see how they react. If they say, well, I can't do that, or that's not my job, we're testing all of these things. The other thing I always do on this day is I have it on video. So we're on video when we're interacting, and there's a couple of things I've learned about video when you're dealing with offshore staff. You have to speak to them every day on video because it dehumanizes each other when it's just a voice. So you've got to make each other humans. You've got to make each other real people. And I've had quite a few people who have said, Marlon, I don't have a video camera. I don't have a webcam, so I can't speak to you. Those people, I just end the interview. Because everyone has a webcam, and the only reason someone doesn't want to speak to you on a webcam is because they're hiding something. And every time I've hired someone that has said, no, I don't have one, I'll get it fixed later, it's always been a massive problem for me, and I've always regretted hiring them. So it's number one thing. Do they have a webcam, and can we speak on video during the day? And if they don't want to do it, then I don't hire them. Another thing is I really look for someone who wants to work with me. The last person I just hired, the one I'm talking to you about, he was so excited. Like when I told him what the jobs were, he was like, oh, I'd love to learn that. I'd love to learn that. I could just see inside of him, he was really grateful for the opportunity. He really loved what he was going to learn because there was a lot to teach him because he didn't have all the skills. But I could see by his attitude he wanted to learn. And I could see that he kept asking questions. And I could see that it was something that he wanted to take his life towards. And I found that out by working with him during the day. And so at the end of the day, I really said to myself, look, I think he can do the work. He's got some basic skill. I can teach the rest. And I really want to work with this person. I think there's this type of person that I work with. They all have the same type of personality, kind of similar to mine. And I just like being around them. And so that's why the day really works. I want to encourage you to start testing people in a day. And the one before this one that I hired, I went to 2 days because he couldn't actually do a lot of the work I asked him to do. So I had to give him an extra day of work, but I just loved that he turned up the next day and that he was there and he kept asking questions and he didn't give up. And so I hired him and it's been a wonderful experience since. Now, I pay them for the day. I don't ask them to do it for free. And if it's 2 days, I pay them for the 2 days. I respect their time. I respect that they can't work for free. And so it has been an amazing experience doing this. And I haven't been doing this for a year or 2 years or 3 years. It's been 12 years. Sorry, about 16 years doing it all together. Because I started this in the previous company that I worked for. So Adam Kogan from SSW, thank you very much. He is the CEO of that company. He's taught me some amazing things. And this is one of them, is that work with people. Don't just take their word for it. Work with them. Spend time with them. And see if you actually want to work with them. And can I just tell you, some of those people will say, actually, I prefer not working with you. For whatever reason, they don't like you. They don't like the systems. They don't like the job that you're asking them to do. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. And so can I just tell you, this person I hired, there was someone before that I was going to do a test with, and they didn't turn up. And so they were really keen the day before. I said, do you want to do the test? They're like, yeah, I'd love to do the test. Let's do it. The next day, I'm looking at the watch. They're not turning up. So about an hour later, I got them on Skype. I said, what's going on? Are you going to come? And they're like, no, sorry, I've got another job. I'm like, what? You wouldn't even email me and let me know or Skype me? So sometimes, if someone doesn't turn up on time, I don't hire them. I'm very clear with them. You need to be on time. You need to ping me on Skype. You need to, and I watch. Are they 5 minutes late or 5 minutes early? There's so many things that you can judge someone with, whether they're a good fit, by spending 1 day with them. So I want to encourage you that next time you hire someone offshore, don't just do an interview. Spend a day working with them. And if you've got 3 people, spend a day with all 3 of them. You can work with them together or you can work them individually. What I basically do is I can have 2 working at the same time. They don't see each other, but you can do it all in 1 day. So if you want to learn how to do this kind of thing yourself and you've got a web design business, I want to encourage you to book a scale session with me. A scale session is where I help you find 3 things in your web design business that you can improve over the next 60 days to radically transform your business. So if that's you, fill in the application form below or book a time with me. I look forward to speaking to you soon.